Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's vOLTHA TST meeting. Thanks for joining. As usual, the call is public and recorded and will be shared on YouTube. So please be mindful of whatever comments and information you share during this call. First up, I want to address three things that, three patch sets or set of patch sets that we need to decide as a team if we want them in 2.6 or not. The first up is a change to the vOLTHA protos, which is from Ken, which is to update the protos as per the core transaction handling. Ken, do you want to spend a few words on this?
Yes, this is the change that when we were discussing about transaction or handling in the core, so there was a few things that we talk about. One was about when we send a flow down, if there's a failure to be able to send an OFP error message back to OF agent, which gets sent back to owners. Another one was part of sending an error message on Kafka and even on Kafka. And another part of it was to be able to write the device update into the database so that if somebody can come and list the device updates, and they will see the history of transaction that has happened on that device. So the protos is really about that. About those changes. Those protos has been around like I guess for over 2 months. I didn't submit it because I wanted to make sure that the changes, the accompanying changes in the core and OF agent, they didn't need any more changes or modification to those protos. But now that those changes are kind of in progress and kind of solidified, I think it's time to submit them. And so okay. Again, this is relevant to the changes for transaction error in the core.
Okay. So any objection to having this in 2.6? I guess the important bit is that we also need an update of these protos version in the different services that use them.
Yeah, that's correct. It's the one that so the core will definitely need it, and OF agent will definitely need it. If the changes, like for instance, if we say that the flow changes, the flow error message, if we don't want that in 2.6. Then OF agent would not need that change. But if we want the flow error message in 2.6, then OF agent will need that. So really, the two components that will need those protos is the core and OF agent.
Okay, so I'm probably fine merging the protos. And then do you know if the OF agent change is already up, or would that be created from scratch?
The OF agent code actually is being changed, is being tested by Maninder, and it should be, once his testing is fine, then that will go on review.
Ken, does this change include also the removal of the reason in device structure? Because I remember something like that.
Yeah, that's correct.
Then we need to change the ONU adapter also, right?
Oh, okay.
Okay, so interesting. Why would you need to change ONU adapter? Does ONU adapter read the reason directly?
No, it overwrites the reason. And not directly, I mean, reason update message to RV core.
Yeah, it sent it to the core, and instead of writing a reason per se, the core add it as part of an update, a status update in a database. So whatever was the reason before, now is a status update in the KV store. So every device, whenever you have a transaction coming in, will have an update for that transaction. So for example, if you update the reason, then for whatever reason it was, so that will be an entry in the KV store. So previously what we have been doing, we have been overwriting the reason. Now you'll have all the reasons listed, kept in KV store. That's a change.
So are you saying that this will not require any update from the ONU adapter?
It should not, unless the ONU adapter is referring to the device reason directly to make some decision. But I doubt it. I think all the reason is just a write to it and nobody's reading it. Is that correct?
I think so, yeah. I'm not sure, should be checked in the code, but I don't remember any place in the code that use the reason code.
Andrea, I mean, the sanity test checked this reason, right? Like the tech profile download successful and CI flows pushed.
Yeah, that was my follow-up question. What does vOLTHA represent for this reason, Ken, with the updated protos?
With the updated protos, there is a different and additional to vOLTHA to be able to list the device update. So you will see not just one update, you'll get multiple updates. So if there's, for example, for the reason per se, it's the reason is gone, so it's just an update now in the KV store. So that means the test who is relying on that will have to change as well.
Okay, then this is completely off. This is gonna go into .7, period. I'm not gonna question. I'm not gonna say anything else. If the test needs changing, it goes into .7. I'm pretty strict on that. I'm sorry, but we don't have the time in 2 weeks to go in, because that thing is used like everywhere. And I know other folks, other than the ONF testing, also do use it. So this is too much big of a change to do it now.
And how is the reason being used currently? Is it
we do check that,
or how is it?
Yes, it's basically the output of the vOLTHA command. To the best of my knowledge, Suchitra might correct me if I'm wrong, but or Girish or Matteo. But there are places where we do check the reason. There has been some discussion, I have to say, if checking the reason is the right thing to do at all, because sometimes, at least in the past, it was just representation of the last status of the device. But as of right now, there are places we check this reason for: is it OMCI flow pushed? Is it OMCI lock done? Is it tech profile downloaded? We kind of use it as a, is it okay? Is it in the right state? Which might not be the right thing to do. Again, I'm not debating that right now. What I'm debating here is that if the test needs changing, unfortunately, that's, at least in my opinion, but I would like to hear everybody's one, that's not going to go in at the moment.
Yeah, fair enough. If we don't have time to change the test, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable. It does seem that we want more of like a kubectl events list rather than use the reason field, as you hinted, or some other mechanism. But there's no. What's the TST? TST?
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Beast, beast. What is it? Toast.
Sorry, guys.
Just kidding. So what it means is that one, and the if we can't have that one in, then the device update queries, the one that Maninder is doing, the third bullet in your list there, that will move to 2.7 as well.
Okay.
Is it going to affect the force delete one at all?
No, this doesn't affect the force delete. Because some of the aspect of the force delete, we already merged that in the protos. And actually the force delete will have to go in. It's because we remove one of the deleted state, and it has to go in.
Okay.
The next one.
So I'm taking a note to have it to schedule it for another time.
Okay, sure.
Okay, sounds good. Anybody else has any other on this one?
One question that I have is how many changes in the tests are needed for this to be met? I agree that we will prioritize stability over new features, but on the other side, making a release knowing that we'll have some bigger changes right after it seems a little strange to me, because we're basically pushing out something that will be outdated right away. So maybe we should see how much work is it to change those.
So it's pretty, in terms of work, I don't know how the test is written, but bottom line is instead of making one request and look at the reason, like maybe it's a get device and just look at the reason, what it will need to do, it will need to do a device list, not a device list, a list of updates on the particular device, and then look at the last update and make a decision on that. There is some filter mechanism also in place based on time that you could use, but it's a little bit more work, but it's not huge amount of work, but it's a little bit of work.
So it's more like looking at the event list associated with the pod in Kubernetes.
Yeah.
Okay, what we can do is maybe take a look at how much this is going to be of work and how many places we do this. And we can get back to everybody on this. Again, my expectation, I would agree that this functionality is ready. So holding it off, it's like not ideal. But given the constraints in time and resources we have, it's something that might happen. So let's see, I guess. Let's take some time to get a feel on how much work this is going to be, and then either do it or hold on, I guess. Ken, would you mind giving or sending out or putting here a list of the full set of patches that are needed to test this stuff? Because I would like to have all the vOLTHA 1, 2 to make sure that if we decide to do it, we try it against the complete set of patches.
Okay, sure.
Thanks. And are these two included in that list?
Yeah, they are.
Is there anything else?
There is one the OF agent that has not been that is being tested but has not been submitted.
Oh, that's what you mentioned before. Yes.
Yeah, so I will need to include that one too once it's submitted.
Okay. That's good. Okay, then the next one up. Anything else on this? Then the next one up is the patch that Himani is working on for the vOLTHA device force delete. David, do you want to give an overview of the current state of that?
It's working. It's got a unit test. It's been checked in. I tried to run the performance test this morning. The build of the performance test failed because of an older Docker version. It doesn't support multi-stage builds. That just needs to be addressed. As we talked before in this meeting, the current tests that it's been run against are run against the Python adapter. And as you correctly pointed out, we need to run this against the Golang version of the adapter, I think, before we commit it. But as Ken just pointed out, this needs to go into 2.6.
Yeah, it has to go in because there was a state change that we made. We removed the deleted state, admin state that existed before. So if we don't, and that's already in the protos. So this patch here uses the latest states. So it's important that this one goes in.
Okay, I have a feeling that there might be some changes needed in the Go adapter, David, because the deleted state is actually something that I think we use. Again, needs checking, but there might need a patch in that adapter to make this work.
There was there was a change that was done in the OpenVOLTHA adapter, and that's already submitted. And because there was one spot that it was checking on the deleted state to do some actions.
Yeah.
And it didn't really need to check the deleted state. So that was removed in the OpenVOLTHA adapter. And that's already submitted.
But are you suggesting there also needs to be a change in the Open ONU adapter?
The Python version didn't use it. So I don't know if the Go version use a deleted state or
not. So at a quick glance, it does not. But it might need checking. And in the meantime, it would also be good to update the protos while you're at it, David, if you can, for the Go adapter.
For the Open ONU adapter?
Yeah, Go adapter, yes.
Okay, I'll build that stuff and run at least the system tests I can run locally. I still think we want to run the performance tests as well as probably the nightly tests on
it.
Yeah, I triggered the hardware test and functional test, and both already passed on them. So, but
that's with the Python adapter, right?
Oh, yeah, that was Python adapter, correct.
And if we're going to release 2.6 with the Go adapter, we probably need to run the same test with that. And my understanding is I can't do that through the testing system today. So we'll have to build images, pass those images off to ONF and say, ONF, please, please, please?
Yeah, that's going to be me basically, but we can do it. That's okay. We have jobs that run the Go adapter nightly. It's just they're not automated to be currently plugged into the testing infrastructure because the default is still the Python version. But we can test it. That's okay. Let me take a note here.
There's a lot of @dbainberries over there.
Okay, well, that's okay. Any other? So we said that basically this has to go. So this before code freeze needs to go in.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Perfect. Let's make all the possible strives to get that done as soon as possible.
Yep.
Okay. So next up, is something that myself in the device management interface brigade has been asked to share. It's great work by Amit and the Radisys team for doing implementation of metrics for the device management interface on top of BBSIM. For those of you who don't know, we actually did implement a device management interface gRPC server on BBSIM to create some fake values and fake metrics to the benefit of the testing infrastructure and also further integration within the DT set of end-to-end solution for testing. And I'm working with Uwe and Torsten from Adtran to submit the tests that use that BBSIM interface, and later we'll use other device management interface adapters towards other OLTs. And thanks to Amit and his team, we did implement that BBSIM interface for the DMI on top of the BBSIM in the BBSIM container. So I'll let him give us an overview and maybe a demo of it. Amit, you're muted.
Thanks, Andre. Let me share my screen. Let me know once you're able to see the screen.
We can see it.
Yeah. Okay. So, so on the device management interface, we have a particular service which is responsible for the metrics that can be collected from this from the device managers for a specific device. So you could go into this device management interface Protos DMI hardware metrics management service, right? And you would find a few RPCs out there. The first one is list matrices, which basically would list the support, the metrics which is supported by the device to be emitted. Then you could change the configuration for a metric, which basically means you could either enable or disable it, output of that, or you could also change the periodicity at which it is output. And you could also get the instantaneous value of a particular metric. The current set of metrics that are supported by this interface are defined in this enum out here. So you have metrics related to the fan, the CPU temperature, the transceivers, disk, RAM, and power. And this list would keep on growing as we support, try to support more and more use cases. And also there is one RPC which is important, which is present in the hardware management service, which talks about where is the message bus endpoint to which these metrics and events need to be sent. So there is an RPC through which you could change the endpoint, or you could configure the endpoint to which these metrics need to be sent. Now, we did an implementation of this.
When you say endpoint, what's an endpoint in this context?
So in this case, we are using a Kafka service with its port where the metrics need to be sent. So that's
so
the use case that we have tested.
It's defined as a Kafka endpoint. Is there an idea that it might be more than Kafka in the future?
So from the API's perspective, it does not mandate that it has to be Kafka. It could be any bus, right? Yeah, from the API's perspective. But right now we have tested or we have implemented only with Kafka. At least
is the request a string, just a free-form string then?
Yeah, yeah. It's, so if we look into the, so it's just a string saying the message bus endpoint. So it's an IP:4. That's what.
Okay. Might want to make that a URL or something so that it has that ability to extend it, right? So you could Kafka:blah or
yeah, I think
or something else. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. So yeah, so we have implemented this metrics aspects of things onto the BBSIM, as Andre already said, that we did the basic management of a device. So the basic APIs are things like start managing device, stop managing device, right? Already on the BBSIM. So as part of the work that we did of late, this was only the metrics part of it. So, and all the documentation regarding this device management server simulator, right, on BBSIM is present in this path, BBSIM doc source, DMI server readme.md. So you could see here how you could test these APIs using a simple gRPC curl, right, and what kind of outputs you get. So I'll also run you through a quick demo. Might not be very interesting, but let's just go through it. So I have on my local machine BBSIM Docker running, right? And I have a Kafka bus running, Kafka running on this. So I have copied some of the commands here just to help quicken up the demo. So first we have to start with the start managing device. So as soon as you do a start managing device, the device manager generates a UUID for this device, and henceforth this would be the identity of this device in this interface. So after you have done start managing device, you could say get the physical inventory of this device, right? So if you execute, this, you could see that right now what we have simulated is quite a few things. So you have a transceiver inside a container, you have a couple of fans, and you have some storage, a CPU, some memory, and each of those components have their own unique identifiers. Right? And at the device level, you have a device serial number, some manufacturer, the IP address on which the device is working, and the device UUID. And also you could get, so once you have the UUID of the components, you could get a particular components information, right? So you could say get hardware component. So these were the ones that were already existing. And as part of the work that we are talking about, so what we did is we set this, implemented this set message bus endpoint. So right now you see that there's no events that are coming onto the Kafka bus, but because the message bus endpoint is not yet set. So as soon as we set the message bus endpoint, you would see that we would start getting some metrics on the Kafka bus. So right now, if you pick up a particular metric, you can see that, okay, this is the ID, then you have the device which emitted this, the component which emitted this was the component name. In this case, it says thermal/fan/system fan 1. So this is the fan on the device with an ID 1, the value, the type, and the scale. So the type and scale say what type of, how to interpret the value. So we will see more details of this out here, right? So next what we could do is we could list the metrics that are supported currently by this device. So if I execute this command, it says, okay, it supports 5 metrics, the fan speed, the RAM usage, the disk usage percentage, inner surrounding temperature, and CPU usage percentage. But out of those, fan speed and these two are configured. The other two are not configured. I don't really know why when it is false, it's not showing up in the JSON output. But yeah, these three are configured, and this is their periodicity, which is in seconds. So every 2 minutes they are supposed to be emitted, and this is supposed to be every second, every minute. So yeah, so this is what we are getting out here. So the list metrics give us that. Check other commands. So if we do this, so the get metric, which would give us the instantaneous value of a metric. So in this case, the metric ID is 1, which we need to go to this thing to check what that ID means. DMI metrics management. So the metric ID 1 is fan speed. So you can see fan speed, and the component that we gave was one of the components that we got in the inventory, and that turned out to be, okay, the component name is something wrong. It should have been the fan. Yeah, so here you can see that this is the instantaneous value, and the type and scale, you can understand it better out here. It says the type is RPM, so it is 3985, it's supposed to be 3985 RPM, and the scale is unit, so it's 3985 RPM, right? So yeah, you could run it again and you get different values that are getting simulated inside. And the last one that I would want to show is that you can update the configuration of the metric. So here what we are doing is we are changing the configuration of the fan speed to, we'll retain is a true, but change the pole interval to 2 seconds. So if I change it, you would see that as expected. Hopefully it starts emitting it every 2 seconds. So you see it's popping up much quicker. And you could also turn it off. You just say, off. So yeah, now it's gone. Right. So this would help of implementations of NEM who are using actual device managers to test their NEM with various different combinations and use cases that they would create, right? Or also to stress test or to scale test the NEM, right? Which is basically where BBSIM comes in. That's all I had. Any questions?
That's great, Amit.
Yeah, so Andre, you can take over.
Thanks for sharing. Let me take back the presentation rights.
Yeah.
Any questions for Amit before we proceed? Okay. Then, Amit, if you don't mind fixing the few small issues that we have noticed, that would be great.
Yeah, sure.
Just as a peace of mind, as we did for vOLTHA 2.5, we are most likely going to release DMI version along with vOLTHA 2.6. I think we have enough incremental changes for it to be released. Again, the two don't have to go hand in hand, meaning the release of a vOLTHA 2.6 or any vOLTHA version and the DMI version, but it seems pretty fit that at the moment, while we're doing a vOLTHA release, we also do a release of the DMI. Would that be okay, Amit? What do you think?
Sorry, Andre, I didn't catch your point. So you're saying that this would go into 2.6 release, right?
Not in the vOLTHA 2.6 release, because there was a specific decision not to tie the two together. But we are gonna, along the same time frame, release a DMI 1.1. I think it was. There was a previous release, and we're just gonna release another one.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Perfect. Okay. Next up is an update on the multi-stack support from Matteo. Matteo, you care to give us a little bit of an update on how this is going?
Yeah, so we are making some progresses on that yesterday. So before Thanksgiving, we had some successful runs running up to 6 stacks, so 6,000 and some ONUs with the Deutsche Telekom workflows. And then we hit an issue with etcd. And that issue is basically that etcd has a size limit of 8 gigabyte that cannot be extended. By default, when you deploy etcd, you have 2 gigabyte of space. You can increase that up to 8 gigabyte, but you cannot go above that. Now, it felt a little strange that we were collecting some data, so many data for 6,000 ONUs, but turns out that that is basically because etcd by default keeps an history of all the changes you make unless you tell him to basically squash that. So we turned out an option to automatically compact the history every 5 minutes so that we keep only the last 1,000 operation in the history instead of keeping the entire history. And doing that, we with 10 stacks, so 10,000 ONUs, we managed to move the size down from what we expected it to be around 10 gigabyte to around 3. So that's a pretty good improvement. And that's basically all I have to say for now. There are a few other issues we are chasing down that are mostly related to the test infrastructure this time. For example, I noticed that when you run with 20 or 25 BBSIM instances with 500 ONUs each, the BBSIM SEDIS server, it's a little slow, so we'll probably need to address that, but that's not a big deal. I'll work on that today. That's pretty much it. Oh, the other thing is that the jobs are ready to be triggered for master and run every 4 hours like the other jobs. I haven't started those yet because I want them to be very stable before turning them on.
Sounds good. What about the patches? Do these still need review?
Those 3, yeah. Well, the vOLTHA docs is, I think that is fine. I'm just waiting to merge it for the others to be in. The kind vOLTHA one and the vOLTHA system test will need to go in together because they are interdependent. I still have a couple comments on the vOLTHA system test one. I haven't received any new comment on the kind vOLTHA one. David left me some comments last week that were addressed before the break.
Yeah, I saw some of those that were addressed. I'm still wondering if kind vOLTHA needs to. I'm worried about bundling, I guess, the stack with kind vOLTHA in terms of one script, not having subcommands still, right? So if you do like vOLTHA ups, it brings up a stack, but sometimes unless you say infra only, I'm wondering if it really needs kind of the subcommands where it's not vOLTHA up as itself doesn't work anymore. It's vOLTHA infra up or vOLTHA stack up. I'm wondering if it needs that differentiation.
Yeah, I think
we can take it offline too.
Yeah, but I agree with you. It will make sense. I think we need to make a call on where we want to go with kind vOLTHA because we have been talking to move to a more Helm-centric approach that I'm totally supportive of.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, I'd really just spend the least amount of time on.
Yeah, I get that. And that's one of the things that keeps coming back to me too. Is it worth it to do it right now or wait for that or do that? something.
So I would do if I may, I would do a mid approach. Spend the least amount of time right now before 2.6 on this, Theo, to get it to work, which he already does, but get it at least somewhat cleanly, with the least amount of effort. And then let's make redoing kind VOLTHA one of the priorities of 2.7. We have some months to do it, and we have a better picture with all the stacks and other things that we know we need to support. Would that work?
I think that's where we're going to end up, because we do want to get rid of kind VOLTHA and actually just replace it with a Helm Uber chart, in my opinion. Let me go over the patch sets one more time.
Okay, thanks, David.
Matteo, I have a few questions on the multi-stack support. Hello.
Yep. Yeah.
So the first one is, so when we say there's 6 stacks or 10 stacks, right? So is it one vOLTHA in each of the stacks, or?
It's so the way it's deployed now, it's 2 vOLTHs per each stack, and each vOLTHA has 512 venues.
Okay, and the way you're bringing up the setup, is it like all the stacks go in parallel, or like is it like one stack bring up the 1,000 venues and then we do the second stack?
No, it is the second approach. So we're bringing up 1,000 venue, waiting for them to go through their process, and then bringing up another 1,000 and so on.
So the overall time that this whatever this 10 stacks take to come up is something like 10 into 10. I think 10 minutes was what we were taking with the single one, right?
Yeah, no, it's definitely more than 10 minutes. Let me quickly check. I'm not really measuring the time too much. Let's see. It takes roughly, so it takes pretty much between 3 and 4 minutes per stack.
Okay.
So it's like about
30 to 40 minutes.
30 to 40 minutes to bring up all of them.
Okay, yeah. Thanks. That's all I wanted to ask.
Yeah, so just to follow up on that, there is absolutely a plan to bring all the news up together. So we're just taking an incremental approach to make sure the system can deal with that amount of data. And then once we're sure that that amount of data is fine to be dealt with, then we'll start working on the speed.
Okay, yeah, thanks.
Okay, thanks, thanks Theo, thanks Giri, Amit for the questions, and thanks also David for taking a look at the patch at the latest. If we can, I would like to get them in as soon as possible, so that's one less thing that we need to worry about for 2.6. Okay, so that comes back to actually the release. So the release date, everybody kind of knows them. Thanks for going in and taking a look at the Jira stories. I saw that we went down in terms of stories. Oh, sorry. There's still a few of them open. Really, I would like not to spend time again between everybody here. I think there is much better use of our time than going to Jira altogether. But just please go ahead and make sure that all the changes that you know are merged or closed, and everything that you know it's not going to happen in 2.6, just move it out. if anything is under debate, please do bring it up either to me, Suraf, or anybody writing on the mailing list. We're just gonna put it under the next TST, which is gonna be on the 8th. And that is going to be the last TST before code freeze. So anything which is going to happen on the 12th. So anything that needs to go in needs to be basically done this week. And if there is anything under discussion, let's discuss it next week on Tuesday. So we have a little bit of a buffer until Friday to get that in. Again, as I said, please do take a look at the stories and just merge, close, update, ask questions and things like that. I might go in and ask a few questions to a few people here and there if there are stories that I'm not sure what's going to be the fate of. Okay. So I left on the agenda the HCD performance topic. I don't really want to go over it today. I think it's just good to have it there. One small update that I can make is that I tried the Calico suggestion that was given to us by Circuit. And we already had that parameter set. So we were not really using IP in IP, which was the specific parameter. So that's something that we have ruled out for it to be the cause. I guess this work is gonna continue in 2.7 after 2.6 or in the 2.6 testing phase of the week between the 14th and the 13th and the 18th. And we're gonna give a few updates by then. Okay. Does anybody have any questions or other topics that I did not cover today? Okay. Since it was mentioned a couple of times before, and I asked David to have actually some tests on it, let me give an update to everybody on what's the status of the OpenONU Go. We are in very good shape in the sense that Michael from Adtran delivered the tech profile deletion feature that is under review. It's being tested at scale, and it passed its scale test. It will have to go in and be tested with the hardware jobs that we have. The hardware jobs results are very promising. We have fully working AT&T and Deutsche Telekom workflows. We are now focusing on the last big remaining issue, which is multicast for Turk Telekom. The patches have been submitted by Odzge. I picked them up, made the very many changes that were required to get them to a proper state. And also a huge thanks to the Adtran folks and to Girish that we are exchanging this work on a daily basis. That is also coming along. We are making progress, and we do hope to have this feature complete in a few days so that we can test it with the Turk Telekom workflow, both especially in hardware, which is what we care about. So that's the current status of the OpenONU Go. And we are going to update everybody's next TST on what's going to be the fate of the default adapter. Is it going to be the Python or the Go version? That is just something that I don't yet have clarity. It really depends on how much progress we can make on the multicast work and the other decisions that have to be, I guess, made. Any questions? Okay, then if not, thanks everybody for joining today's TST. I'll give everybody 7 minutes back. I guess little bit of a break before the next meeting if you have any. And if not, have a good rest of the day. And I'll publish the recording as usual. And let's talk on the email Slack. We do have our action points. So thanks a lot for joining, and talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.